Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Well, here we are, December 31st, 2023, soon to be New Year's Eve, and soon day one into 2024. And there's a lot been going on, both recently and throughout the year. And in regards to the up-and-coming election, that's one of the things I really wanted to talk about. There's been a lot of scrutiny going on with both candidates, which will most likely be Joe Biden and Donald Trump. There's no indication that Joe Biden is going to only go for the one term, although some Democrats are hoping he would, and Donald Trump looks like he's going to be the winning nomination for the Republican side, in spite of some increasing numbers with some of the other candidates. However, his legal woes are catching up to him, and recently he was taken off the ballot both in the state of Colorado and Maine. Although, last I heard, California was looking into that, but then decided not to and keep him on the ballot. So what I mostly focus on is some of the recent events that have been going on between Israel and Gaza, and the battle against the terrorist group Hamas. I'm not so much talking about that, but what I have been hearing from representatives like Ilhan Omar, who's Palestine, and certain other people who have been protesting against what Israel's doing, along with Joe Biden, and thinking that early on, some of his actions weren't good enough, that they wanted him to do a ceasefire, which I kind of agree with. And not too long ago, there was a bit of a ceasefire, and some of the hostages were released. I don't know if all of them were. I haven't really been keeping that closely on it. But what I have noticed, which is a little unsettling, even though it's early on, we haven't even gotten into 2024 yet, is that there are a lot of people out there who are saying, because of this, that they felt Biden could do more, could still do more. They're just like, you know what, maybe I'm going to sit this one out. Maybe I'm just not going to vote for Joe Biden. Maybe I'm going to vote independently. This is something I've talked about when it comes to getting people to vote, but this is focused more on the specific election itself. And the reason being is that to not vote or vote independently would be a bad idea. Because on the flip side, we have our former president, twice impeached, who's already been found guilty of sexual assault and fraud, and is facing still other indictments and criminal charges, which are going to come down on him. He only says, on day one, I'm just going to be a dictator, but just for the one day. If you really believe that, have I got a bridge to sell you? This is pretty disconcerting, because he's also talked about other things, Trump, where he's just said out in the open that he plans on weaponizing the DOJ, going after his political opponents, those that weren't in supportive of him during impeachment and, during the criminal proceedings that he's facing. And quite frankly, he wants to change a lot of the powers and just gut the government, getting rid of a whole lot of staff and replacing it with Trump loyalists who will follow his lead to the T no matter what. And also legal experts who will, help him do whatever he can to pretty much kind of curb and put the Constitution aside, giving him pretty much absolute control. This is something he has been talking about, recently for quite some time, and it is disconcerting. And the fact that even though he's facing all these criminal charges that some of he's been found guilty of, that he still has the potential to be president of the United States a second time, where he intends to go full fascist, that is pretty scary. Okay, I hate to say it, but the possibility's there. I'm confident Joe Biden can beat him, but he's going to need our help to do it with. And that's where the voting comes in, where some people are just like, I want to vote independent. Let's really break this down, because eventually it boils down to a numbers game. Even though he's off on Colorado and Maine, but also to put on a side note, the Supreme Court could, undo that, which is a possibility, which I haven't, dismissed altogether. I'm not just saying, okay, Colorado and Maine are on the side. Other states may follow, but it also, again, depends on if the Supreme Court decides to intervene. We can't just overlook that. But eventually, it's going to boil down to two candidates, okay? Assuming Trump's allowed to run and his legal woes don't get the best of him, okay? He has a way of wiggling out of these things. So, when in the history has an independent ever won? I want you to really think about it. And the answer is, to my knowledge, it never has. And what does that do? That dilutes the Democratic vote. Okay? Now, some of you might be saying, well, I'm not just going to run. I talked about the numbers before from 2016 and 2020. I don't have that in front of me. Pardon me for being a little unprepared. But a lot of people didn't vote in 2016. And that number went down in 2020. More people got involved. Now, I have no way of seeing it in the future, but I encourage each and every single person to get out there and vote. But most importantly, vote blue. Because this threat of fascism is real. And to sit out the election is just foolish. Let's break it down into some basic numbers. This is all just hypothetical. The one thing you have to keep in mind, Trump's base, his MAGA cult, they are locked. They are solid. Okay? I've done a lot of videos pointing out the hypocrisy, all the flaws in Trump, some of the achievements in Biden. And no matter what, they're just of the mindset that I'm going to vote for Trump no matter what. Okay? They just are. And it's about time you just accept that. So this video is not meant for them, okay? They're already brainwashed. Call it what it is, okay? It's to the independent voters and the voters that are undecided, and most importantly, the voters that are like, well, I don't know. Let's say you decide to sit this election out, okay? You got, say, Trump has a 40% base that's going to follow him no matter what. Come 2024, they're going to vote for him, period. So now Biden's got 60% of the remainder on his side, supposedly. But now let's say 10% decides not to vote. Well, then that 60% goes down to 50, and so on. You might just be saying, well, we're only just a small handful of votes. Wrong. There are a lot of people who surprisingly do not vote in the elections, which is why, like I said, celebrities like Taylor Swift and others like myself and other people on TikTok and social media have been encouraging people, especially young voters, to get out and get registered. That's some of the volunteer work I do, not just for presidential candidates, but also for local candidates and the elections in between. And we've seen how that makes a difference. Like the 2022 midterms, the red wave that was going to come and change everything, gone. Okay? It was a total embarrassment for the GOP. And then in the recent elections, there was the change in Ohio and some other changes that work well. And even in the school board elections, the Moms for Liberty, the Klan moms that want to indoctrinate your children, well, guess what? They weren't as successful, and they're finding resistance in getting on school board elections. My point is, elections matter. And this isn't just about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You got to look at the big picture. And the big picture is, this whole MAGA thing is an extreme fascism that could potentially take over the government. If Trump wins in 2024, game over. You think he's going to leave in 4 years? No, he's not. He's going to do what he can to stay in power. There probably won't even be too many elections, from then on, all right? Because he does not care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about the rule of law. He's not a person of law and order. And most importantly, he doesn't care about people. I can talk about all the achievements that Joe Biden does, like, the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, expanding Medicare, bringing down the cost of certain drug prices and everything. But if you're hung up on this whole Israeli thing, which I kind of get to a point, you can't let that be the tipping point and just shoot yourself in the foot. Because in the end, it's going to go full circle. You might be saying, oh, well, I'm going to stick it to Joe Biden. I'll show him, because for Israel and stuff like that. Great. So you, stick it to Joe Biden, and in full circle, Donald Trump wins the election, and then he sticks it to all of us, including you. And fascism, as I've talked about, and about the Florida blueprint and living in a fascist world, you can look at those videos, what it would be like living in a fascist world. It affects everyone in some shape or form. You've already seen what, Donald Trump has in mind as far as a nationwide abortion ban, taking away a woman's right. You think it's going to stop from there? You think women wouldn't lose the right to vote? To say nothing about the mass deportations, and saying he wants to set up camps for like homeless people and stuff like that, and a whole bunch of other things, okay? To say nothing about other MAGA leaders who would continue to push laws that would go against taking away the rights to vote and stuff like that. So we together have to work collectively to get out and vote, no matter what, and vote blue across the board. Okay? Send a message to Donald Trump that we don't want fascism, that we preserve our democracy. When he loses in 2024 to Biden, that he's going to turn around and scream voter fraud. The one key difference is he won't have the power of the presidency to do another January 6th. Some of these people are talking about civil war. Let's show them what democracy really means. Let's show them for what Trump really is, the criminal that the fascist and authoritarian wannabe, and start voting out these things, okay? This is an election that we can afford to just take for granted and just say, well, I'll skip this one. No, you don't skip this one. If you haven't registered yet, if you're a young up-and-coming voter, get out and get registered, if you're able to. Don't wait. It's really quick and easy. And make the time to get out and vote. Get involved with some of the volunteer work I've talked about, like canvassing, phone banking, making donations, writing postcards and letters and stuff like that. Okay, just don't wait till, come the November around 2024 and then, decide to do something. We got a lot to do. We got to work here and now, and we have to work together to preserve our democracy. The MAGA base isn't going to do it. Maybe in time, when Trump loses in 2024, I may be a little overconfident when I say that, but that means I have faith in people. I care about people. Something Biden does and something Trump doesn't do. So, you have a choice. You can either get out and vote and do what you can to stand up for our country, or you can sit this one out and hope for the better. The problem is, if you're wrong, if Trump does win, you're not going to have the opportunity to go back and say like, well, oh gee, I made a mistake, okay? When you start to see the effects that happen, more and more, okay, let's say Trump wins and he starts doing an even worse abortion ban. He's talking about imprisoning, criminally charging women who miscarry or have an abortion. What if that happens to someone in your family under Trump's rule? Now you get to say, ooh, gee, I didn't think that would happen. You could have stopped it. You could have done something. You chose not to vote. Now it's on you. Let's say friends and neighbor of yours who are African American or LGBTQ or trans who find themselves wanting to leave the country or find themselves so badly impacted and there's nothing they can do about that. Their rights are being stripped away. You could have done something. You could have gone out and voted. You chose not to. You said, I'm going to show Biden. Now look at the price you're paying. Extra tax cuts for the wealthy. You can bet that's going to affect you and your family. Again, you could have stopped it. You could have gone out and voted. You chose not to. You just said, I'm going to sit this one out, I'm too frustrated with Israel. Israel's and what's going on nationwide is important, yes. But we also have to focus on here. And you just can't let what's going on between Israel and Hamas and what Biden's done or what you think he should be doing, let that be, tip the scale on you, okay? Because eventually it does boil down to him. We have to make that choice. If you want to look at it as the lesser two evils, do that then. Go for the lesser two evils. Vote for Biden. You're thinking of voting independent? That's not going to work. You're taking votes away from Biden. You got to pick one of the two. If you're just going to go in there and write a fictitious name in, you may as well just not vote, okay? Again, you're doing the same thing. You're making it easier for Trump to win. Why would you want fascism in our country? I was recently at the Holocaust Museum, and I've seen, when you read through the steps, you start to see the parallels going on today, okay? Or you don't see people with swastikas and stuff, but you see people following Trump like he's some kind of cult leader, and he's talking about doing all these terrible things. Go back and look at his videos. Go to his website. You'll see. This is not speculation. He's saying the quiet part out loud anymore. White supremacist groups, hate groups, neo-Nazi groups, they're feeling energized by all this. Is that what you want at the forefront? Because that's what you'll get if Trump wins. And like I said, you won't be able to go back. You won't get a second chance. And, when you start feeling the effects, then you got regret. Why take that chance, okay? Instead of focusing on just Israel, look at Biden as a whole, what he's done compared to Trump for his previous 4 years. I'm not talking to the MAGA crowd. I already know exactly what we're going to say. I hear it all the time. I'm not going to get into it. You got to look at the bigger picture moving forward. There could be a time where the GOP recovers itself out of this whole MAGA cult mess, but it's going to take some time to do that. And you're not going to get that with Trump at the helm. If anything, he's just going to sink this country worse into his own little fascist state. And guess what? Get used to it, because it ain't going to go away anytime soon, if ever. And if that's not enough to convince you, all the sycophants, who'd really love to see Donald Trump get elected? I think I've mentioned this before. Do you remember? Well, in case I haven't, here it is. Do you know the answer to that question? Vladimir Putin, other dictators, and hate groups out there, they would love to see Trump back in the White House. You should ask yourself why. Because they're not looking out of our best interests. This isn't about America first. This is about the people and democracy over authoritarianism, over fascism. That's the simple option. If you're not registered to vote, get registered, please. Get more involved. Find out what are the things you can do to help. Making donations, canvassing, phone banking. It's never too soon to start, and guess what? In the end, when Biden does win, you'll start to see the difference. You'll see the improvement. Could there be better Democrats? Sure, down the road. We need to focus on here and now and look at the big picture, because again, it's not about Trump and Biden. It's about saving our democracy, saving our country, okay? It's not just about your life, your feelings. It's about the lives across the country that'll be seriously impacted in a negative way in Trump wins. We've seen that during his presidency, what a disaster it was. The cult doesn't see it, but we do. You got to look past some of your personal feelings and say, what is the bigger picture here? Focus on that, please, and do the right thing. I really hope you understand, because it's important that you do. Okay? I hope you all have a happy and safe New Year's. Welcome to 2024. Like I said, we still got a lot of work to do, so I'm actually looking forward to it, all right? Because I'm not getting ready to give up the fight. Nor should you. I'm here for the American people. I hope you stand there as well. Thank you for watching.